So I brought you a video about 11 things you need to know concerning LSU ahead of this LSU versus Alabama matchup this Saturday. So today I'm going to bring you the Alabama side. So I'm going to tell you 8 things you need to know about Alabama ahead of this matchup. And what I'm going to do is some of these things are going to be more on the nose. You're going to know them in general. Some are going to require a little bit more thought. And so I'm going to jump right into it. So the first thing I got to point out is that Alabama is more of a West Coast spread / RPO offense this year, as opposed to just strictly being a spread RPO offense last year. And I think that's worked out in their favor with a lot more hitches, curls, crossings, routes that are underneath, things that allow Tua to get through more reads and take advantage of check downs, which is an issue he had last year. And Steve Sarkisian's offense really has been helpful on that front, and so I think they'll be more and more efficient, and people start to see that as they play in more and more primetime games. The second thing I'm going to tell you is that Jalen Waddle is such a dangerous punt returner that teams sacrifice the effectiveness of their punters just so they can keep the ball away from him. Jalen Waddle forces teams to kick the ball out of bounds, or they'll kick the ball so high that they don't get as much distance on the punt. And that's really helpful for your special teams when you have a guy who can force teams to do that. The third point is that now that Terrell Lewis is healthy, Terrell Lewis is number 24, the outside linebacker for Alabama, usually the pass rusher. The pass rush and overall play of the two outside linebackers has improved significantly. And I don't think a lot of people know that. I think a lot of people just been hearing that Alabama's defensive line is quote unquote not that good, or that, the pass rushing is great. Well, the thing is, the defensive line is not the pass rushing focus of the team anyway. It's actually the outside linebackers. And now that Terrell Lewis is back, they've been quite effective. And I don't think they've even scratched the surface of their potential ceiling yet. And so this will be fun to watch going forward. I'm actually going to be having a close eye on Terrell Lewis and Anthony Jennings in this LSU game. The fourth point is that over the past few games, Alabama has reestablished a physical ground game with Najee Harris and Brian Robinson. So at the beginning of the year, the offensive line was having some troubles, and the running game really wasn't that effective. The running game wasn't physical, which Alabama hasn't had a gap type scheme where they just attacking and blowing people off the ball for a while, but this offensive line wasn't really pushing people that well. They seem to have gotten that going now. As you see Najee Harris and Brian Robinson with some inside runs, some tough finishes on run, which is a little bit different from the way LSU has been able to get traction in their run game, as I mentioned in the last video. So the run game is a complement to the pass game in general for Alabama and for LSU. It would have been odd to hear that a few years ago, the old Alabama and LSU. The fifth point is that on that same note, the offensive line has improved a lot. Remember, I said the offensive line kind of struggled at the beginning of the year. Their early season concern for Alabama was that this offensive line wasn't physical, the run game wasn't getting traction, pass blocking was a little spotty at times. Now the offensive line seems to be rounding out to be a strength for Alabama, which can only help improve their offense even more. Landon Dickerson at center was the right thing to do, and the freshman Evan Neal, 6'9", number 73, he's doing really well at left guard and right guard, depending on how they're playing and switching them out, giving them experience. And of course, the return of Deontay Brown, number 65 at guard, also was really helpful in kind of keeping people together and solidifying spots for the team. The sixth point is that people keep saying the Alabama defensive line isn't good, and I'm just going to say that that's false overall. What they're trying to say is that the Alabama defensive line is not a pass rushing defensive line, which, yeah, okay, that makes sense. They're not like the 2015, 2016, Ashawn Robinson, Ryan Anderson, Tim Williams, like those guys, which is okay. These guys maintain their gaps fairly well, and they maintain leverage. They don't have to be supreme pass rushers. That isn't necessary to be a good defensive line per se. It depends on what you're looking for, what your scheme is going to do. And so Alabama hasn't needed that this year from them. Like I said, the main point of the pass rush is going to come from the outside linebacker. And not to mention, they were also just like injuries to people like LeBron Ray earlier in the season. But Raekwon Davis has been lighting it up a little bit lately. And so it'll be interesting to see how they go moving forward. The seventh point is one of my favorites to talk about, is that the secondary is an experienced and talented unit. The formidable duo at cornerback with Trevon Diggs and Patrick Surtain, they both make some athletic plays this year, some really great pass breakups, some really good interception returns. And I like to see more of that in general from them, as Alabama fans in general have been waiting for these two to kind of stay healthy for one, and stay on the field and really lock down teams. Also, there's an experienced nickelback in Shaheem Carter who's been playing since his freshman year, and so he knows what he's doing out there, and he kind of fulfills a few different roles at times. And of course, an experienced leader at the safety position, which is Xavier McKinney. And so Alabama's secondary really is the most experienced group on this defense, and they really have an opportunity to really take over all the responsibility of keeping the defense going in the right direction. The last point, the two inside linebackers for Alabama are true freshmen. They are inexperienced. That's one of the main reasons why the second level of the Alabama defense has been in a little bit of flux this year. And so teams probably want to attack these two. Not everybody's had success doing it, but it'll be interesting to see what LSU does. And Nick Saban, of course, knows that his two inside linebackers are freshmen. He's been trying to get them experience all year. He's been playing them in different roles and moving them in and out. We'll see what happens. So thank you for watching this video. If you have any more points that you wanted to say about Alabama, feel free to add them here. I'll see you for the next video.